Day 62 of the war against Hamas in Gaza, the IDF has now breached terrorist defenses in both northern and southern Gaza and has encircled the homes of terrorist leader Yahya Sinwar and Khan Yunis. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
In the north of Gaza, the army is inside the remaining Hamas strongholds of Shejaiya and Jabalia. In the south, the army reached the center of Khan Yunis. The army says that the terrorists are being forced from underground bunkers and clashing with IDF forces are ongoing. The army added that IDF forces had the upper hand in close quarters combat. The most intense urban battles since the start of the war on October 7th are ongoing. The army has reportedly reached the home of Hamas terrorist leader Yahya Sinwar in Khan Yunis. Prime Minister Netanyahu announced the move, saying Sinwar is not above ground but underground, and Israel's job is to get to Sinwar and kill him.
אמש אמרתי שכוחותינו יכולים להגיע לכל מקום ברצועת עזה. עכשיו הם מקטרים את ביתו של סינואר. אז ביתו איננו מבצרו, הוא יכול לברוח, אבל זה רק שאלה של זמן עד שנשיג אותו.
In addition to battling Hamas on the ground, the IDF is locating and destroying or removing its weapons stockpiles near schools.
אמש צק"ג 50 מצא אמצעי לחימה רבים במרחב שאנו נמצאים בו כרגע. בתוך אמצעי הלחימה אפשר לראות טילי נ"ט רבים, מאות, וכן אמצעים נוספים אסטרטגיים, דוגמת כלי טיס בלתי מאוישים וטילים ארוכי טווח. אנחנו נמצאים בלב שכונת מגורים. אפשר לראות לידי גם את מרחב בתי הספר, קריית בתי הספר מאוד מאוד גדולה.
Meanwhile, there are signs of a breakdown in the distribution of aid in Gaza. Gazans are seen ransacking UNRWA warehouses, with many accusing it of not distributing desperately needed aid to displaced and hungry Palestinians. UNRWA tweeted, "Several challenges are pushing efforts to the brink." Israel has been allowing ample humanitarian aid and fuel to enter Gaza, but much of the supplies have reportedly been pilfered by Hamas.
They deny the kidnapping of our children, the murder of our grandchildren, the rape of our daughters. The new Nazis we face today will stop at nothing to destroy civilization as we know it. The World Jewish Congress was created exactly for these times like this, so every Jew can fall asleep at night knowing they are safe in their own home. We are a voice for the Jewish people everywhere. We are the World Jewish Congress.
And joining us now is Brigadier General Yosef Vasel, former head of research at the IDF Intelligence and senior research fellow at the JCPA. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yosef, the IDF deepened its reach into southern Gaza. What can you tell us about this next stage in the war and the fighting in Khan Yunis?
Well, we are in the depths of the third stage of this war. We started with the aerial preparation of the battlefield. Then we moved to northern Gaza, and now we are moving to southern Gaza. We are in the midst of that move. And we concentrate on Khan Yunis, which is I would say the capital of Hamas in southern Gaza. And this is where the most important leaders of Hamas come from. So we are trying to break the leadership of the Hamas in Khan Yunis, and that would have an impact, I believe, on the entire southern part of Gaza. But still much is ahead of us. We have to deal with a lot of other cities and towns and villages in southern part of Gaza. Altogether, there are about 1 million people living there, and on top of that, close to 1 million that moved there from Gaza City. So it's a very populated area, and we have to do that while taking care of the humanitarian needs of this population, at least making sure that the humanitarian needs are flowing in. What happens with that afterwards is it's a big question mark, because we saw that Hamas is trying to steal the food that's coming in for their purpose. And that leaves the population in a very poor condition. UNRWA is trying to take control of that, but they actually cannot. And it's a challenge that we'll have to face during fighting in this part of Gaza. But I believe that we can make it and take over the entire Gaza Strip in order to make sure that Hamas doesn't have the capability to carry out terror attacks and to make sure that it doesn't control Gaza. We are getting closer. It's going to take something like a couple of months, I guess, before we finish taking over the entire Gaza Strip.
Now, as you mentioned, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced as well last night that IDF forces have surrounded the home of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in Gaza. How close is the IDF to catching him along with the other top Hamas officials?
That's I cannot guess about that. He was not at all, and he's hiding somewhere. And it depends whether you get the golden information, golden piece of information that would lead you to where he is or not. You might exert a big effort in order to get it, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get it. In fact. So I don't know, but the effort is going to continue, and we are going to reach soon the situation where even if he's not caught, he's unable to control the Gaza Strip, and that's the most important thing. And he's not going to have enough terrorists to work for him and carry out attacks on his behalf.
Now, what kind of Hamas opposition is the IDF facing on the ground over there? What kind of conditions are they operating under?
Well, we have to understand, first of all, we are fighting inside an urban area, which is by itself a very challenging situation. Secondly, we are fighting against people who were preparing themselves for this kind of battle for more than 15 years. So they have a lot of underground facilities. They have placed a lot of booby traps, and we have to be very careful, and that's the way the soldiers are fighting. They're very careful. There's a lot of cooperation between the ground forces and the Air Force and the Navy, and that guarantees that we are going to have less casualties than what Hamas planned to charge us with. What they do is most of the time they just pop out of their underground tunnels and try to carry out attacks against our armored cars and against the soldiers, and try to hit the soldiers with the booby traps in the shafts of the tunnels and other buildings that they place them in. It's what we find is amazing. Is how they use all the civilian facilities and public facilities for military purposes. How they launch rockets. We saw yesterday that they launched rockets from the area that we have designated as a safe area for the population coming from northern Gaza. And they launched from there the 12 rockets towards Beersheba. It's frustrating to see that they really don't care about their own population.
Absolutely.
And we have to bear the responsibility for this population once we finish the job.
Yosef Kufa Vasel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
The IDF announced the names of 4 more soldiers killed in separate fighting in the Gaza Strip. 24-year-old Sergeant Major in Reserves Maor Gershoni from Yokneam Elite was a commander in Battalion 8173 Etzion Brigade and was killed yesterday in northern Gaza. 39-year-old Sergeant Major in Reserves Adi Shani from Tzur Yitzchak, a reconnaissance soldier in Logistics Unit 6036, also fell in battle in the northern Gaza Strip. 22-year-old Staff Sergeant Amit Bonzel of the Paratrooper Brigade's Reconnaissance Unit from Shoham was killed Wednesday in a battle in the center of the Gaza Strip. In addition, 22-year-old Staff Sergeant Almenu Emmanuel Feleke from Kiryat Gat, a soldier in the Commando Brigade's Duvdevan Unit. He died Wednesday after being wounded in a battle on December 5th in the southern Gaza Strip. In that same battle, 3 soldiers from the Paratrooper Brigade's Reconnaissance Unit were also seriously wounded. The evil mastermind of the Hamas murderous rampage against Israel on October 7th was Gaza terrorist leader Yahya Sinwar. Israeli troops have now encircled the home of Sinwar in Han Yunis, who is believed to be commanding terrorist forces in bunkers under the city. What does Israel know about Sinwar as it moves to end his life? More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is well known to Israeli security officials. Born in Khan Yunis, Sinwar, 61, was elected as Hamas leader in Gaza in 2017. Sinwar rose to prominence as a ruthless enforcer, leading the Hamas security apparatus, which tracked, murdered, and punished Palestinians accused of collaborating with Israel's Secret Service before he was jailed in 1988 and sentenced to consecutive life terms, accused of planning the abduction and murder of 2 Israeli soldiers and the murder of 4 Palestinians. He was imprisoned for 23 years before his release in the Gilad Shalit hostage for prisoners deal in 2011. The former head of the interrogation department in the Shin Bet remembers Sinwar as both rational and extraordinarily cruel, earning him a nickname.
I can say about Yahya Sinwar that he was the cruel man that I ever met, in my life. He was really cruel. He killed at least 12 people, at the Gaza Strip. All of them, he suspected that they cooperated with the Israeli intelligence, so he killed them with machete of butcher. That's the reason that the Palestinian in Gaza Strip called him the butcher from Khan Yunis. That was his name.
The Hamas leader is considered an extremist devoted to the notion of murdering Jews and destroying Israel. Sinwar is considered unlikely to surrender, even when all is lost.
Now Israel are in Gaza Strip. We have to continue fighting until Israel, the Israeli army, the IDF, must kill Yahya Sinwar. Even he will fight. I'm sure that Yahya Sinwar wouldn't leave the Gaza Strip. He will stay until the last bullet.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Galant says that Israeli residents of northern border towns won't return home before Hezbollah is pushed away from the border. Amid another day of cross-border exchanges between the IDF and Hezbollah, Galant reportedly told mayors that either political or military means will be used to move the terrorists north of the Litani River. More from ILTV's William Sharon.
In a closed meeting with northern mayors and council chiefs, Defense Minister Galant reportedly said the plan was to ensure Hezbollah forces are not present south of the Litani River, in accordance with the UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which ended the 2006 Second Lebanon War. Galant said Israel does not expect residents to return to their homes before Hezbollah is away from border areas. The defense minister added, a diplomatic solution to cross-border tensions with Lebanon was possible, but if it could not be achieved, Israel would deal a heavy blow to Hezbollah in the country's south and force them north of Litani. Some 80,000 Israeli residents of communities located up to 10 kilometers south of Lebanon border have been evacuated. They are temporarily staying in hotels and other facilities with funding from the state. The defense minister's comments came amid another day of cross-border exchange between Israel and Hezbollah. The IDF shelled Hezbollah sites in southern Lebanon with barrages of artillery and tank fire, as well as an IDF drone that hit a Hezbollah command room. The strikes came amid Hezbollah's continuing attacks on Israeli civilians and military targets.
Israel has intercepted another Eilat-bound ballistic missile fired from Yemen by the Houthi rebels. The projectile was intercepted by the long-range Arrow air defense system in the Red Sea outside Israeli airspace. The incident set off sirens in Eilat, though the surface-to-surface missile was destroyed far from Israel's southernmost city. The Iran-backed Houthi rebel group claimed responsibility for the attack. The Houthis have fired a number of ballistic missiles and drones at Eilat since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war in October, all of which were intercepted or missed their targets. The latest Arrow interception was its fourth of a ballistic missile launched by the Houthis in recent weeks that have been taken out by Israeli fighter jets. During the week that marked a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, a remarkable story of resilience emerged. Among the Israeli hostages released in an exchange deal with Hamas, 17-year-old Mia Limberg, along with her Shih Tzu dog, Bella, were freed after almost 2 months of Hamas captivity in Gaza. ILTV's Devo Klein with that incredible story.
Mia Limberg and her mother, Gabriella, were visiting family in Kibbutz Nir Yitzchak when they were brutally taken hostage by Hamas during the October 7th massacre Maya managed to smuggle her Shih Tzu dog Bella along with her by hiding her inside her pajamas.
And then they took them to tunnels, and they went through the tunnels into Gaza, and she had the dog with her the whole time. And then when they came out of the tunnel, they had to climb up a ladder. That's when Hamas people noticed that this was not a doll, it was a living, breathing dog.
Maya shared her food with her dog Bella while in captivity and made sure to clean up after her so she wouldn't be a bother to the captors. The mother, daughter, aunt, and dog were set free as part of a swap for Palestinian prisoners. Descriptions of Hamas captivity have started to emerge with the return home of some of the Israeli hostages. Some have described suffocating quarters with no access to medication and dwindling food. Children recounted being ordered always to keep quiet and whisper. Maya's dog assisted her with those moments of darkness.
She was a huge help to me. She kept me busy. She was moral support, even though she didn't want to be.
Many pets were killed or went missing during Hamas's rampage, but Maya was determined.
She was very determined to bring the dog back, and one of the expressions that she has now is about the dog is that I love you to Gaza and back.
More than 100 hostages were freed in the truce that has since ended. Maya insists to fight for the freedom of all the other hostages who remain in Gaza, including her uncle and aunt's partner.
We miss them every day, and it feels wrong being here without them. It is so important that we bring back everybody. As much as I am happy to be back, we're still not done.
You've stayed up to date on the latest news in Israel, and now you can stay up to date on the Hebrew language too. ILTV is happy to introduce a new weekly segment, the Hebrew Word of the Week, where along with an e-teacher, we will learn a new Hebrew word relating to current events. And if you are interested in learning more about the Hebrew language, you can check out the e-teacher by scanning the barcode on the screen below. So let's take a look at today's Word of the Week.
Welcome to Hebrew Word of the Week. I'm Ariella, and in this segment, together with eTeacher, we explore the beauty and depth of the Hebrew language. We'll learn a new Hebrew word or phrase and see how it's used in the Bible, current events, and everyday life. Today's Hebrew word is Shalom. It means peace in Hebrew. Shalom is a very important word because it's used to greet people, say goodbye, and express a variety of other sentiments. It's also a common way to wish someone good luck or good health. The word Shalom has a rich history. It's first mentioned in the Bible in the book of Genesis. In the Hebrew Bible, Shalom is often used to describe a state of peace and well-being. It can also refer to a state of wholeness or completeness. In modern Hebrew, Shalom is still used to express these same ideas. It's also used in a more general sense to mean hello or goodbye. Here are some examples of how the word Shalom is used. Shalom Alechem, hello to you, or Shalom, ma shlomcha, hello, how are you? So if you're interested in learning more about the Hebrew language, check out eTeacher. This online and live course is the most established Hebrew language instruction institution. You can learn with a time-proven method for every level or start from scratch. eTeacher offers dynamic online courses with live video lessons, weekly webinars, and ample support, and allows you to connect to a lively global community for an enriched learning experience. Click the link below and visit the eTeacher website today to learn more.
And joining us now in studio is Rabbi Ariel Constantine. Indeed, Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom, shalom.
Rabbi, Jews celebrate Hanukkah worldwide this evening as they light the first candle of 8. Tell us, please, a little bit about the significance of this special holiday, Hanukkah.
Indeed, it's a very joyous time for the Jews around the world. It celebrates long ago when the Syrian Greeks were prohibiting Jewish observance and practice and even defiling and desecrating the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And it came time where the Jews said, that's enough. We must fight back for our religious freedom and our ability to observe our tradition as we've done as age old. And they finally fought back. And the small Jewish army, militia with no training and no equipment, beat the mighty Syrian Greek army. And were able to clean the temple and rededicate it. Hanukkah actually means dedication or rededication of the temple. And they lit the menorah, which is a symbol of the Jewish spirit, that no matter how hard people try, they can never crush our spirit. Our spirit will live on and endure even through hard times. And indeed, we brought a lot of light in a very, very dark time.
Now, what are some of the traditions that we see in Hanukkah?
So one of the things we do is we light the Chanukiah. This is often not called a menorah, but the correct term is Chanukiah. Menorah had 7 branches, and that was lit in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. This is a Chanukiah with 8 branches and a middle or on the side, one of them that is called a shamash. That's the one that lights the other candles. And each night of Hanukkah, we light an additional candle. So on the day 8, we light 8 candles plus the 9th, the shamash, that lights all the other 8. And the reason for this is that we have a story of the miracle of the oil that they were looking in this temple that was completely ransacked and defiled. And they were looking for one little jug of oil that was still pure from the high priest with his stamp on it, and they found one. Miraculously enough, they found one, and they lit that. But it would take 8 days till it would have pure oil to light again. But they said, you know, let's light it and hope for the best. And indeed, there was a great miracle. The oil lasted for 8 days, and therefore we celebrate 8 days of Hanukkah. So each day we add a little bit more light, a little bit more brightness to the world that's dark. Hanukkah's in the winter, so it's very dark, and we want a little light can banish a lot of darkness, and that's what we do each day to bring more and more light.
And the dreidel, I see that there's one right there next to you.
Yes, in fact, there are 2 types of dreidels, because in fact we have one that's in Israel and one that's abroad. The one that's in Israel has letters on it. It has Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Pei. So that stands for Nes, Gadol, Haya, Po. A great miracle happened here. Here meaning the land of Israel. And the diaspora dreidel, I grew up with this one. It says Nes, Gadol, Haya, Sham, with a Shin instead of a Pei, which means a great miracle happened there. There meaning in Israel. So we spin it. It's a game that we play. In fact, the story behind the game is that the Jews were banned from learning Torah. The Greeks thought if they get rid of the Torah, they'll just get rid of the Jewish faith. They don't know us very well. They realize we're very strong and stubborn people and cling to our beliefs and our faiths very, very strongly. So we were playing dreidel whenever they would walk in to pretend that we weren't learning Torah. So if they walked in, like, oh, no, we're just playing, you know, but we're studying.
Now, Hanukkah is known to be a festival that commemorates the triumph of light over darkness. How do you see the significance of this holiday in the context of the challenges that the Jewish community faces these days, both in Israel and globally?
Well, there's no question we're in the very challenging and dark times. I mean, the dark times started on the Simchat Torah on the October 7th, on the massacre that's of epic proportions that we can't even imagine still. I still can't picture the horrors that happened on that day and ever since. And through that darkness, though, we've still committed to bring light. And from the very day that happened, the Jewish people have coalesced to fight darkness and banish darkness, both evil, for evil people like Hamas and people who want to perpetrate such horrific acts against humanity, and also coming together to helping each other. The energy and spirit of volunteerism is absolutely incredible. We, the Tel Aviv International Synagogue, we're going multiple times a week to the field to help the farmers, and we host events for the evacuees, and we've been holding prayer services for the hostages, and everyone is coming together and bonding as one and helping each other, and that's the beautiful light that we're bringing. So Hanukkah comes at a dark time, but we stand for light, and we'll bring goodness, and we'll bring light, and God willing, through our efforts, we will help to banish the darkness in the world.
And Hanukkah is indeed a holiday of miracles. We hope for those miracles.
Absolutely.
Right now as well. Rabbi Ariel Constantine, thank you very much for this interview.
Pleasure. Chag Sameach to all the viewers.
And now let's take a look at this.
Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg, editor of All Israel News. Sign up for our free daily email for the latest news from Jerusalem. Go to allisrael.com.
Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies are expected tonight throughout the country with lows of around 13 degrees Celsius or 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, temperatures should rise slightly along with cloudy skies that should last throughout the weekend, reaching highs of 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channels, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and don't forget to check out our new and improved website, ILTV.tv, with all the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Sivan Raviv. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.